Alright YouTube, what is going on? It's ConflctNerd Family here today, bringing you another episode of my Transport Fever Let's Play. Let's get Scotland moving. As we can see, this boat is gonna, well, collide with that boat, and it's also coming out at quite some speed. Some angle as well it was at, which is never too good for a boat. Anyway, so in today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, we've got 2 more episodes of this series before we go ahead and take a break. And we're going to go ahead and jump back to goods, because goods is something which we've not neglected recently, but the past 2 episodes have been really revolving around passengers, and as you can see, we've got quite a few things which we need to go ahead and deal with. So the first thing is we're starting to produce a lot more iron again, which is great. At our iron mine here, as we can see, we have got more than adequate amount of iron being produced, which is great. We were definitely struggling on the iron output for a while, and at the end of, was it episode number 20? Maybe episode 27 or 26, I decided to go ahead and return a train, which, now thinking about it, it's... the good thing is I didn't delete the train. That's the best thing. I decided to go ahead and return this bad boy into the station, and the good thing is that we can now go ahead and bring it back out. Now the reason was because we were losing a significant amount of money and the demand just wasn't here, but now the demand is here, we can go ahead and bring this train back out. So what line is this? Well, that's a very good question. I believe it is the Fife Iron Goods line. So we'll go ahead and bring you out. Now we can see the production here, it is still on a high, it's in the 600s. I want to start to clear some of this backlog so we don't have too many issues with this production going down. I think it maybe is slowly going down, but I don't want it to go down. But that iron's going to be brought over here, and for more iron, which we're also, if I'm correct in saying, getting more iron coming up here as well. This isn't at an outstanding production level, but it has gone ahead and jumped above the 200 barrier, which is great. It's now got a limit of 400, so we're starting to see that every ship that turns up here, which to be honest, I'm not really at all sure when the next ship is due in. This one here, past the 250. Will you have 250? Maybe not quite, but you'll be quite close. But that is a large amount of iron which has been taken down to south of Dundee, along with the iron which is just south of Dunbar, where we were just at. There's a lot of iron getting brought into this area. Now to match that, we need to go ahead and bring over coal. But the coal production is exceeding my expectations as well, which is great to see, and we're starting to get a bit of a build-up. So this here is a little bit of an issue because it looks like production has essentially just crashed, but I need to make sure that iron and coal are at the same levels, because if they're not, then we're going to have over demand for one and under demand for the other. We're not going to get as large a steel output, and it's just not going to be a nice deal all round. So what I'm first of all going to do is sell all these vehicles here, because essentially they're just being a little bit of a waste. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in. Now what truck are we currently using here? So let me jump into freight. And is it these bad boys? It's not these bad boys. It must be these guys here. So the Volvo F12 Kipper, which it looks like it is. So we're going to go ahead and buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that's maybe a little bit too much, but the amount of iron we're bringing in first of all, and in this game, it's not necessarily if you build it, they will come, but it is sort of, it's really based off demand and frequency, and that's 2 things which I'm definitely going to go ahead and work towards this episode that little bit more. So this is the Z... Oh, I'm not really at all sure. It looks like it's a ZC Coal. Again, bad naming principles there, but we're going to be jumping back to the Grand Canyon soon, and the state I left that map in was not good at all, so you're really not going to like my naming principles when we get back to that map, but that is after 2 episodes, because, ladies and gentlemen, I have decided that we only have 2 episodes left of this series before it goes on hold. Then we're going to jump back to the Grand Canyon. Then we're going to go ahead and pretty much complete the Grand Canyon. By my estimation, it's going to take about 15 episodes, give or take. Then what we're going to do is jump back and complete this map, so it'll be a nice little break. Right, so I'm seeing that we've got a large amount of steel over here, which is building up, and if we're going to be bringing in more iron, which as we can see, a full boat of 250 there, we're bringing in more iron from over south of Dunbar, over here, which it looks like we're starting to clear the backlog. My worry is the production's about to crash. I You set at 524, but I want it to go up rather than down. But we'll come back and monitor that at a later stage. And the coal, yeah, the coal's at ground bottom 0, but we are bringing coal in from over here as well. Your production isn't that high though. Things might turn sour, but I want to go ahead and I want to bring more steel over. And again, we went ahead and we basically brought this train back in to the depot here at Glasgow because there just wasn't the amount of steel. But I'm going to go ahead and put it back out onto the tracks once more. Now again, I'm not really at all sure if we're going to have to put them back into the depot. I'm starting to get the indication that we are, but for the time being we might as well go ahead and ride out the high and see if we can go ahead and make this actually work out long term. This area here is absolutely amazingly busy. As we can see, one train here is emptying and the other train is filling up, and I just really like it. It's all go here. There's a boat coming in, there's a truck coming in with coal as well. So it's just really all go this area. I really like this part of the map. It's just outside of Dundee. It's on the Fife's Doghead, as we all know. This is the, if you're new to the series by the way, this county here, it's called the County of Fife in Scotland. There is, it looks like a dog's head. That's really what it does, which is quite unique, I guess you could say, for a piece of, like, this is natural. This is natural, so I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, enough talking about that. I want to go ahead and turn my attention to some other goods. So a lot of people were commenting, 2 or 3 users were commenting about my lack of, or my frequency problem, I guess you could say. So right now we are bringing wood down from up in Thurso down to this sawmill here. Now the distance is quite some distance. We need to jump all the way up here. And as we can see, it looks like a train is possibly in here right now about to carry some logs back. But the real problem is that I am too worried about, I've got one really long train instead of maybe 4 or 5 smaller trains. But I've gone ahead and I've sort of bridged that gap, so I've added a second train onto here. Now it's still not very profitable at all. If I filter by trains and we go for the, what is this going to be, Dundee Thurso probably. ZW Dundee Thurso, then as we can see now we've got 2 trains which are on this line. Frequency is down to 5 minutes, but loss is still pretty high. The real problem is we're just not producing enough wood, that's the problem. And I'm hoping that with 2 trains now, frequency is still at 5 minutes. I don't know if it's going to work, to be honest, but with the frequency at this level, I'm hoping to see more production, but everything's very stagnated right now. What I will do is I'll probably let the game run quite a bit in between this and the next episode, and that'll hopefully go ahead and make quite a significant difference. Turning my attention to the farms and the goods, how are we doing on the northern food line? Because this was a line which was struggling for so long. We're not doing amazing, and I'm not really at all sure why, to be honest. The trains are going south full, and there is food being brought back up in the plenties, but I'm just not at all sure why we're not succeeding. I think there is a bit of a routing issue with the food distribution up here in the north, so it looks like food's coming into the station. I believe this train coming in actually has food on it, which is fine, but I want that food to go over into the truck depot so these trucks can provide food into Thurso. But I've got a feeling for some reason you're out of sphere of influence, or something isn't quite working out here. So food is getting dropped off, so the food's been emptied, so the food is getting delivered over there, but some of it's still in the station, which I don't know why that is. But right now the trucks are relatively empty, it looks like, unfortunately. Minus that truck there. I think that a lot of these trucks are empty. That truck just going into town, 0 out of 24 bits of food on it, so it's not really doing too well up here, unfortunately. I really don't know why there's food stuck in this train station though. That's something which very much frustrates me. One thing I want to talk about is a new mod which is being played around with in the community right now. So I went ahead and I tried to go ahead and I did grab it off the workshop, but it's not really working right now, unfortunately. So what it is essentially is lane filtering, which is something which is being really needed in this game. So for example, if I take this road here, I could go ahead and choose exactly what would go in each lane. So if that would be trucks, if that would be cars, if that would be trams, if that would be buses, then we do have bus lanes in this game. But if you were to create a bus lane only road, for example, if I was to go ahead and upgrade this to a bus lane only road, it wouldn't just be buses that would go on this. Cars which either lived, worked off this road, they would be able to use this road. But that would also mean if they were going from one point at, for example, the left to another point on the right, but they lived in the street, they could still use it, which was a bit bullshit, even if they weren't returning to their work or their home, which was on the street. And that has caused not too many problems in this map. But if we were to go down to, I believe Dundee has quite a bad, actually it must be Perth Station if I'm correct in saying. So yeah, this example here, this used to be bus only roads, but it really wasn't working out, so I just reverted it down to smaller roads. But this car, for example, you shouldn't be coming along here, but you would be. If you lived in this house, you would. But this mod is, and the reason I've not got it on is because it's a wee bit faulty right now, but in the future it's going to go ahead and allow for direct lane assignment, and that is going to go ahead and solve a lot of traffic issues. It means that I can go ahead and make bus only roads, which is going to improve efficiency. And as I said, on this map things aren't too bad, but in the Grand Canyon in Boulder, when we jump back there in 2 episodes time, if people know what I'm talking about, it was absolutely hideous. Mods like that as well, they're going to be real game changers, and they're going to allow you for more freedom, and that's something which, I mean, this game's not done too bad on, but the more control the user gets, the better they can go ahead and really control their map. So I'm starting to see that we're really drying up on all fronts, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, so I don't know if this goods episode is actually gonna work out. So first of all, there's nothing in here at South Glasgow, which is a real surprise because the amount of items we've been bringing down to or producing from this area, for example, if that is machinery, if that is goods, whatever it may be, there was always something in this place here, Upper Glasgow truck stop, but there's not, which is a real issue. So we've got a few, I know why, yep, that's our problem. So you need to turn around, that explains a lot. So we've not been getting in steel in here. Why can't you go backwards though? I think you are literally stuck in a, what? No path, right, I need to go ahead and solve this issue. So I've gone ahead and resolved that issue and added in 2 extra platforms at the station, but we're just having real difficulties. That train has gone back into the depot, but now we've just dropped down on the steel input because we're just not producing as much steel as we once were. The coal's moving faster, which is good, and the production's up here, and I think that's matching up with the iron. So even though there's not as much goods waiting here, this has dropped, but it's still producing a fair amount of iron, which is good, and that's still required over here. So the steel output is probably just about the same, I would say. I can't remember the specific figure from earlier on in the episode here with the Dundee steel mill, but we are, I would say, roughly producing the same amount of steel, and we're still getting a lot. I would say, if anything, this is going up. Again, it's similar to what it was. We're still getting a lot of iron from the north, that's the bottom line. So I want to draw your attention up to here and see how we're doing on the goods front. So we're not really producing a lot of goods, and the reason is, I think, because we are struggling on the... I'm not really at all sure what we are struggling on, to be fair. You can go ahead and easily look in here. So as we can see, there's quite a bit of wood in this yard here. So it looks like we're struggling on the plastic front, which is not great at all. How are we doing on the plastic? Production's at 0, which is a real problem, understandable. So for this, we should be getting food down into here, but we're not really. So I'm looking for a brown line, I'm looking for you. So this train here is bringing in foods. Oh, now I understand why there's food being dropped up at Thurso, because the food is coming down to here, so that makes sense. So we're looking for the northern chemical line in here, because I've evidently only got 1 train on it, and that frequency isn't high enough. So if we jump back up here, we can see that there's a fair amount of grain being produced, and I can go ahead and definitely take a lot more of this grain down south. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into here, and we're going to buy some more trains. So I want to go ahead and grab ourselves, and I legit seen one of these in real life the other day. So EWS Maroon, again I was talking about this I believe 2 episodes ago, England, Wales, Scotland, how it's a really significant train, and it's really to do with the goods network in the United Kingdom. I actually seen it in Edinburgh. I was cycling down the Union Canal, which is a big canal in Scotland. It's not marked on this map because it's not that significant, but it is, and it joins up with a canal from Glasgow, and there's a Falkirk Wheel, which is the largest canal turning system in the world, I believe. Random fact there. But the bottom line is this, is that I've seen it paired up with a DB train, which I believe is Deutsche Bahn, which is, I think that's what it is. And I'm pretty sure a user said that something to do with the goods and all this whole system here was that they were sort of paired together now or something. I'm not 100% sure, but nonetheless, I seen the EWS in real life the other day, which is pretty cool. Didn't get a chance to take a photo because I'm cycling on my bike and it moved past quite quickly, but they're very cool trains, not gonna lie. Right, what I'm here to do is to go ahead and build basically at least another one, if not two of you guys. So we'll go ahead and make you automatic. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we'll just start off with adding in the extra 1 for the time being. And that's going to go ahead and drop the frequency down to a whopping 6 minutes, which is good. There's a lot of train movement up here, I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of train movement in general, as we can see. There's more trains coming in. You're having to wait right now, which is not great. But you're going to go into the left-hand side, and then we're going to have other trains using the right-hand side. So, yeah, the bottom line is, I've worked out what the problem was. So, the production on the, if we filter by road vehicles here, the production of food that's been dropped off at Thurso is much lower because a lot of that food is now being rediverted into Aberdeen instead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a lot of you guys to return to the depot and basically sell. That's what I want to do because there's no need for 6 trucks and it's a waste of money. Quite a large loss, and considering we're only losing money on, I believe, what, 5 or 6 different routes? What screen am I looking for? Not that one, not that one. This one here. Filter by balance. Okay, we're losing a lot more money than I thought. It was in the last episode though. I think there's only about 4 or 5 different routes we're actually making a loss on. You can now see that it's a lot of it's literally to do with the iron, the steel, the coal down in the central belt. So it's like a knock-on effect. If one of them has a bad day, then they all have a bad day. As we can see here, the grain is really being cleared out. It's because we can only go ahead and take grain on the Northern Chemical Line. And we can also take food, but there's not a lot of food or grain to go around. It's mainly livestock right now, as you can see. Right, so with that done, that should start to produce more plastic. I believe we're getting plenty of wood up here. But when we go ahead and get more plastic, then the wood demand will go up anyway, which is good. And then with that, we'll be able to produce more goods, which will be provided into Aberdeen. So it will be a win-win, it's just going to take its time. I do really want to see this be successful though before the end of the next episode though, because I want to get this up and going before I move back to the Grand Canyon. Right, so I'm looking here at the Peterhead Construction's materials plants, and this can produce brick. I believe that's what it looks like, and brick can be taken straight into the market. It doesn't need to go ahead and get processed anymore. And as you can see here, it's called construction material. This can be assigned straight into Peterhead's. So I want to go ahead and try and get this up in the go as well, and again continue with the Northern Powerhouse expansion. So construction material here, I can see that it requires either slag or it requires stone. Now I'm not really at all sure whereabouts your raw resources are. I've got a feeling that there is stone here in Inverness, which is interesting, so we can maybe get a train going along there. I'm going to go ahead and just scour the map and look for my other options though. So by looking through the whole map, it turns out that slag is actually an output which you get from either iron, coal or both. So we're not going to be getting that, unfortunately, or I don't want to go ahead and use that. I just want to use raw stone which comes from this quarry, and it looks like this is the only quarry on the map. So I have a choice here. I can either go ahead and make use of some other islands, which I'm really tempted to do. I'd love to have something up here in the Western Isles and go ahead and, I mean, it's some distance, so that's the only thing which kind of puts me off. But I would love to use these islands. These islands like never get used. And I mean, yes, it is some trek, and again, this part here, as we know, this railway here is just so busy. But at the same time, I think it'd be really good to go ahead and, yeah, to be fair, the problem is I can't have it on this stretch of track. And the reason is because we've already got 2 different train routes on it, and I can't put a third on it because it's already pretty frequent. That train's there, and then the other train will probably be just about to come down. Yeah, there's already one coming down, and there's another one already just about to go in. So it's pretty much non-stop up here right now, which is something that I'm a little bit concerned about. So I could go ahead and put or add in an extra station over here to carry the stone and use the passenger track, but this goes into Inverness station here, so that really wouldn't work out too well. So what I'm thinking is we go ahead and build another track alongside this parallel, which comes through here, comes through the tunnel, comes out roughly here, and then I don't want it to join through, so what I'd maybe do is I'd have it branch off here, tunnel through under the airport sort of thing. Then it would come out and it would have to maybe run alongside here, come round the, whatever this is, the processing food factory, then it would have to turn over and then it would cross over and come into here. That would probably be the best bet, and that's what I'm going to go ahead and work on. So it's going to take me quite a while to do, but I think it'll be worth it long term. Two things to note is that the production here is near enough at 100, which is great. It was at 100, it's dropping down, and that's because we're increased the wheat coming down to here and we're creating more plastic. Even though I'm not seeing a lot building up here, we are making more plastic, which is good. And the production it's at 50, but I'm expecting it to start to go up now, which is great. I'm considering adding in an extra train. As we can see, wood is coming up, but there's not a lot of wood coming up, and that's a real problem. So again, it's not just to do with the plastic production, it's also to do with the wood. So I guess both ingredients there are really struggling. So after about I don't know, it's been about 15 minutes or so, I would say, I've gone ahead and created the new line. So we're looking here and we're going to start off at this end. So this is or part at least of the northern power hub, and as we can see, we've got our materials plant over to the left. So what's going to be happening is the stone's going to be coming into here at Peterhead West. Then once the construction materials are produced, they're going to be going back to Aberdeen on the ZCH, which stands for Chemical Aberdeen. Now what these trucks do is these currently bring in the plastic over from the Aberdeen branch over here to the factory at, well, the Northern Powerhouse. This is really what it's becoming, and this is the long-term goal. So that brings in that stuff, and then currently it takes back the goods, but it's also going to take construction materials as well. Just depends which ones are there. Right now, as we can see, it looks like overall so chemicals are coming back in. I'm expecting this truck to take back some of those goods and sell them on, and that'll, I'm assuming, is going to be what happens with the construction materials. However, I'm not really at all sure on what if that truck can actually go ahead and take that, because we might require a certain type of truck, because that's a box truck and I'm not at all sure if that's going to work. But we'll cross that issue in the next episode because we're just about out of time. Plus I want to go ahead and just get this quarry or stone line, which brings the stone from Inverness over to here up and going. So this is the new branch here. So it's the one off to the far left, the 186 mile per hour track, and as you can see, there's a lot of tracks here. I really need to go ahead and tidy this up, but as you can see, it's extremely fast. This is the best part. It comes along the side of the airport, which I really like. Then it goes through various tunnels as it tries to navigate through Inverness here. So it goes under a tunnel, then it comes back out, then it goes back into a tunnel, then it sort of joins up and runs parallel with part of the line which goes from Inverness to Thurso passengers. And then as you can see, it comes in here to this small station here off the side. So as you can see, this is where the stone will be produced. It'll be taken over the railway line, the passenger railway line that is. It will then be taken from Inverness West back along to where we just came from. Easy as that. Final thing I need to do is go ahead and add in trains, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be quite ambitious with this one. So I've already pre-made the line, as you can see. So I need to go ahead and somehow, if I can, I don't really know where I'm going to put this depot actually. We might go ahead and do it in one of these small gaps. I've gone on the total, I literally got lost there. I went on the total wrong railway line. Let's go ahead and probably place it in around about here. So we've got our turning circle here, which I'll probably go ahead and place it in here, I think. So what we'll do is we'll have a small branch coming off here, and then if we jump into trains, railway depots, you can see I've got a lot more now, which is good to see. So we've got these large train depots, which I really like the look of, and I'm going to go ahead and use one of these for the first time. So This I think is much more appropriate. It's much larger first of all. I think it truly represents the train sizes that we're now using in this game as well, and it's different. We never used this before, and there's quite a few others which I've got there as well. One thing that I've been playing around with a lot today, I should say, is the terraforming, because since the update has happened, it's allowed me to go ahead and use the terraforming tools without too many issues. We're on ×3 speed right now. This was like a suicidal thing, which you could never do before, but now you can do it with a relative ease. Right, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is select the EWS again, because it is by far the best. Then we need to go ahead and filter by wagons, and that's something which I'm not really at all sure what we're going to go for. So right now I want to go ahead and it's stone I'm wanting, but I'm not really at all sure what takes stone and what doesn't take stone. That's the real problem. So it looks like stone goes in the same wagons as iron and coal do, which that kind of makes sense. It's sort of the same. It's a raw material of the ore type, which makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and grab some of you. So what I'm going to do is buy one. Actually, I should probably go ahead and make sure that it's only stone specific. So we'll buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to duplicate that, so we're going to have 2 of you guys. Then with that done, this is called the Inverness stone line, as you can see, and that is those 2 trains already onto the move, which is nice to see. So what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up here. I think that we have achieved quite a bit this episode, which is good. We've been jumping around all over the place, to be honest, but that's sort of been the pattern recently, and I guess it's just because we're not doing any major large projects, we're tweaking a lot of smaller projects, which that kind of makes sense. In the next episode I want to go ahead and make sure we are producing a lot more goods. The chemical production, as we can see here, is up a lot, which is great to see, but the constraint is actually up here in Thurso with how much grain we're producing to go ahead and, because I would really like to add in a 3rd train to take grain from up here at the farms down to the chemical plant in Aberdeen, but unfortunately we're just not really getting it, unfortunately. We're getting a lot of livestock output, which is good, which gives me the indication I might need to modify some of the Northern Food Line trains, because right now it's very much geared towards going ahead and carrying a direct balance of grain and livestock, but I need to go ahead and use some of that grain for the chemicals, so it's a little bit unbalanced, I guess you could say. The North Chemical Line is not doing the, I mean it's not doing profit-wise, it's not doing great, but the thing is there is, I would say now, the grain to go ahead, wheat, whatever you want to call it, to go ahead and support that. So we'll go ahead and deal with that issue next episode. I need to sort out this wood issue, because we're really struggling on wood. Like the production here is 56, which is just awful. I think it's to do with the frequencies of the train, so I'll deal with that. And then I also want to make sure that we are sorting out this new stone line which we've created. The output's already there, so if anything you should start producing straight away, but you're not. So again, we'll go ahead and see what we can do with that. And the final thing I really want to do is get a lot better output, which it looks like we are getting a lot more output coming out of here. That will just be through extra steel, which, FYI, I did put this train which was stored, or no, I haven't. Right, okay, do we need to? No, I would say not. I would say we're doing okay, but that's really down to the production of you. You're actually, you sort of leveled out at 400 there, which is pretty good. How are you doing? 300, that's pretty good. And the other one over here was at about 100 and you're up. You're definitely up because you were on about 179. What about, okay, so we're doing very well up here actually, I would say. We're doing a little bit better than I thought, which is great. So we'll go ahead and wrap all that up, and then we'll go ahead and probably turn just a final wee check over to passengers, then we'll go ahead and wrap this series up for the time being. That is the plan for the next episodes. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, rating, subscribe if you are new around here. That's all for this video, so my name is ConflctNerd Callum, and I'm out.